Jazz is another very broad style, but certain common features are usually present. Most jazz is played with swing, which means that quavers are not played straight, but instead the offbeats are played slightly late. One way to look at this is to derive it from triplets. So here is a bar of straight quavers, firstly. And now quaver triplets. This time I'm going to start by playing quaver triplets and then tie the first two together on each beat. This results in a swing rhythm. Let's have a look at the difference between straight and swung quavers. I'm going to start by playing a bar of straight quavers, move on to triplets, and finally tie the first two triplets on each beat together, resulting in a swung rhythm. Jazz often uses time signatures other than 4/4. Our example is in 5/4, which means there are 5 beats per bar. The classic example of this in jazz is Take 5 by Dave Brubeck. It's well worth having a listen to this to check out 5/4 in action. Time signatures usually have some beats stressed more than others, and in 5/4 you can count it in two ways. You can group together the first two beats and then another 3, or 3 plus 2, so that it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jazz rhythm guitar usually involves a technique called comping, which is derived from the word accompanying. When you're playing with bass, drums and piano, it's usually best to try not to get in each other's way. So rather than playing really busy rhythms, because that's the drummer's job, you should stick to playing short, sharp stabs, which usually 1 or 2 per bar. Playing low notes is the bass player's job, so try and avoid the bass strings. And also, if there's keyboard involved or piano, you should be listening to each other, making sure that you're not fighting with the keyboard player, that you're not interpreting the chords in different ways or playing rhythms that clash. Jazz comping usually involves playing just a couple of chords per bar, either short stabs, often on the offbeats, or maybe longer chords on the beat. Usually these shouldn't sound like strums, so you can either use the pick, but if so, make sure you're not doing a strum, but rather doing a shorter, sharper stroke. Or you can use fingerstyle or hybrid technique, where the pick is held between the thumb and first finger, and the remaining 3 fingers pick the top strings. So here's an example of comping using hybrid technique. When improvising melodically, jazz players are very aware of the chord sequence at all times. There will often be chromatic chords containing notes from outside the key, and many modulations where the key changes temporarily. The chord sequence and changing keys can be reflected in many ways. Our example uses diatonic chords in E-flat major for the first 7 bars, so the E-flat major scale may be used here. The G and G7 in bar 8 imply a modulation to C minor. This can be reflected in many ways, including the C harmonic minor scale or the chord tones of the G7 chord. Either way, try focusing on the note B natural here, as this signals the modulation effectively. The new key doesn't last long, however. The F7 in bar 9 implies a move to B flat major. Again, you can use the notes of F7 and in particular the note A natural to signal this. The rest of the sequence is a little more complicated. Try chord tones here, and above all remember to keep listening. Any clashing note can usually be resolved by moving up or down by a semitone. When doing this, try to make it sound deliberate, as though you intended to use a resolving dissonance all along. Jazz players often use various textures within a solo, including single notes, octaves and chord melodies. For both comping and melodic playing, jazz players almost always choose a clean sound using the neck pickup. By all means, start your solo by playing a line of single notes, but if you get stuck for ideas, try moving to octaves. Simple chord melodies can be created by moving between different voicings of the same chord. Here's an example using C minor 7. Here's a jazz improvisation over our example track in 5/4. I'm going to start by comping using hybrid picking, and then move on to some solo ideas using both single notes and chord melodies, and I may throw in some octaves as well.